I may not fully comprehend the sheer extent of the effort it took for me to be perceived as likable and to fit into the intricate web of societal norms that surrounded me. What I do know is that it was an exhausting ordeal, one that demanded not only my energy but also pieces of my identity. Every interaction felt like a performance, every gesture rehearsed, every smile carefully timed, as if I were an actor on a stage where the audience judged me by standards I never set for myself. It was a constant struggle, a battle not against the world, but against my own sense of authenticity, as I molded myself into someone I believed others would approve of. The pressure was raw, unfiltered, and relentless. It was not simply about belonging, it was about survival in a society that rarely offered space for those who dared to be different. It felt like a race, one where the finish line kept moving further away, a competition not just to be accepted but to be among the best, to avoid being overlooked or discarded. As I pushed myself through this grueling pursuit of acceptance, I discovered a truth that struck me with both clarity and despair. The only person I could truly rely on was myself. No matter how much I gave, no matter how carefully I shaped myself into a version palatable to others, there was no guarantee of loyalty, no assurance of genuine care. That realization carved a deep space within me, and from that space came a decision that altered the course of my life. I resolved to stop chasing approval, to stop bending under the weight of others' expectations. Instead, I chose to devote my full attention to my own needs, my desires, my ambitions, and my dreams. It was not selfishness, it was survival, a deliberate act of preservation. For once, I allowed myself to stand at the center of my own existence. But this shift did not come without consequences. In seeking refuge from the harsh realities that surrounded me, I stumbled upon small pleasures, little escapes that dulled the noise of my restless thoughts. At first, they were harmless distractions, fleeting comforts that granted me temporary relief. Soon, however, they became more than mere indulgences. They grew into rituals, daily habits that offered the illusion of control. With time, these habits tightened their grip, transforming into chains I could not break. Addictions crept in quietly, disguised as harmless companions, until I realized too late that they had claimed a part of my freedom. What began as a conscious choice to care for myself slowly turned into an entrapment of my own making. It was during this phase of my life that I met you. You entered my world unexpectedly, and from the very beginning, you stood apart from everyone else I had known. You did not carry the same restless hunger for approval that weighed me down, nor did you bear the marks of the addictions and habits I had clung to. You were different, not because you tried to be, but because you simply were. You never demanded anything unusual from me, never imposed your will or forced me to conform to your expectations. In your presence, I felt no pressure to perform. Unlike others I had encountered, especially women who seemed consumed by superficial desires and materialistic pursuits, you existed with an authenticity that was almost startling. You carried yourself in a way that was both graceful and unpretentious. There was no artifice in your demeanor, no hunger for validation. You seemed busy in your own world, but not in the frantic, chaotic way that society often glorifies. Your busyness was grounded, meaningful, rooted in pursuits that mattered to you rather than dictated by others. That quality made you not only captivating but profoundly beautiful. You were natural, organic, untouched by the false masks so many wore. In a life of pretense and artificiality, you were like a breath of fresh air, pure, rare, and necessary. Your presence stirred something within me that I had long ignored. For years, I had lived in a manner that dulled my senses and clouded my judgment. I had accepted my lifestyle as normal, convincing myself that the cycles of indulgence and escape were simply how life was meant to be endured. But in seeing you, in observing the clarity with which you lived, I began to question myself. Was there something wrong with the way I had been living? Was my pursuit of fleeting pleasures and reliance on habits a reflection of weakness rather than survival? For the first time in years, I began to wonder whether the problem was not the world around me but the choices I had made within it. This realization did not strike me like lightning. It grew gradually, softly, as if your very existence encouraged me to peel away layers of denial. Each moment with you held up a mirror to my own flaws, not in a way that condemned me, but in a way that invited me to reflect. I started to see that perhaps my addictions were not shields but shackles, keeping me bound to a version of myself I no longer wished to be. Perhaps my endless pursuit of acceptance had blinded me to the possibility that I could live authentically, as you did, without constantly bending under the weight of others' judgments. And so, because of you, I began to change. Slowly, carefully, I entertained the idea of living differently, of shedding the habits that chained me and stepping out of the roles I had forced myself to play. You awakened within me a truth I had long buried, that there was more to life than survival, more than fitting in, more than numbing myself with shallow comforts. Through your quiet authenticity, you showed me that transformation was not only possible but necessary. In the grand tapestry of life, every thread is interwoven with purpose, and every crossing of paths leaves its own distinct impression upon the fabric of our souls. There are those who pass by unnoticed, their presence fleeting and insignificant, and then there are those who leave indelible marks on our hearts and minds, shaping us in ways we may not immediately understand. Among those unforgettable encounters is one person whose presence once illuminated your world, only to retreat into the shadows out of fear and insecurity. And yet, though they once fled from you, they now find themselves in pursuit, drawn irresistibly back into your orbit as though guided by forces far beyond their control. Like a moth to a flame, they are pulled towards you, their heart compelled by the intensity of a longing they can no longer suppress. Their departure, painful as it was not born of indifference or disdain. It was not that they lacked love for you or failed to recognize your worth. On the contrary, it was because they felt unworthy of standing beside you, undeserving of the affection, the patience, and the love you so freely offered. A sense of inadequacy gnawed at them, convincing them that your brilliance, your strength, and your capacity to love demanded more than they could give. And so, they chose to step away, believing that in doing so, they were sparing you from the disappointment they feared you would inevitably feel. Yet time has a way of unmasking the truth, and absence has revealed what denial once concealed. The silence of your absence has become unbearable to them, a constant torment that reverberates in the quiet hours of the day and echoes in the stillness of night. The void left by your departure is vast and consuming, hollowing out their spirit and leaving them with a persistent ache that nothing else can soothe. It is this unrelenting ache that now drives them to seek you out again, to bridge the chasm that separates you. They find themselves rehearsing words they long to say, struggling to piece together sentences that might convey the depth of their regret and the immensity of their yearning. They wonder if your heart still carries even a fragment of tenderness for them, if perhaps the door they once closed is still slightly ajar. From a distance, they watch, unable to turn their gaze away, unwilling to sever the invisible thread that binds them to you. Their eyes seek you in the crowd, their thoughts return to you in moments of quiet reflection, and their spirit refuses to release the hold you have upon them. As they navigate through this storm of emotions, realizations strike them like waves crashing against the shore. Slowly, they begin to understand the gravity of their actions and the far-reaching consequences of their choices. The wounds they inflicted upon you, whether through neglect, careless words, or selfish actions, now return to them as mirrored reflections of their own suffering. Life has handed them the bitter taste of their own medicine, and for perhaps the first time, they fully comprehend the pain they once caused. This recognition does not come lightly. It carries with it a weight that bears down upon their chest, filling their days with remorse and their nights with restless thoughts. Regret becomes their companion, whispering reminders of their failings, while guilt settles heavily on their heart. They are left with no illusions, fully aware of the harshness of their past actions and the betrayal of trust they committed when you needed them most. The emotions they wrestle with are heavy, almost suffocating. They are caught in a tempest of shame, sorrow, and longing, struggling to balance the desire for reconciliation with the fear of rejection. They believe that you may still be nursing the wounds they left behind, scars that no apology could easily erase. This belief makes them hesitant to reach out, hesitant to speak, hesitant to break the fragile silence. They fear that their words will only reopen old wounds, that their voice will stir painful memories better left in the past. And yet, beneath that fear lies a growing desire for redemption. They long not just for your forgiveness, but for the chance to prove themselves worthy, to stand before you as someone transformed by pain and strengthened by growth. In the quiet corners of their mind, thoughts of commitment and permanence take root. They imagine a bond not easily broken, a union that represents the ultimate expression of devotion. Marriage, once perhaps an abstract concept, now lingers at the forefront of their thoughts. They envision building a life with you, not as an escape from loneliness, but as the culmination of love finally understood and cherished. They know that no one can ever replace you, that no other presence could ever diminish the space you occupy within their heart. You are the one who lingers in their thoughts during the stillness of morning and the quiet of night. You are the one whose memory stirs their soul, reminding them of both the beauty of love and the cost of its loss. This chapter of their life has become one of self-discovery and painful but necessary growth. They are beginning to learn from their mistakes, to confront their flaws, and to understand the weight of their choices. Each moment of regret fuels their determination to change, to rise above who they once were, and to become someone capable of loving fully and faithfully. Whether reconciliation is possible remains uncertain, for that choice lies not with them, but with you. What is clear, however, is that they are propelled forward by a powerful desire for reconciliation, a longing to mend what was broken, and a hope that time has not extinguished the flame that once burned between you. Only time will reveal whether their efforts will bear fruit, whether forgiveness will bloom from the soil of regret, or whether the wounds of the past will prove too deep to heal. Yet one truth remains undeniable: you have left an indelible mark upon their heart, a mark etched so deeply that neither distance nor time can erase it. No matter what path the future takes, they will carry with them the imprint of your love, a reminder of the beauty they once held and the lessons they continue to learn.